In this video, I'm going to completely break down what it takes to make a great B2B marketing video and share what I've learned over 15 years of being an agency owner as well as a marketer at 4 early stage B2B companies. I'll provide a step-by-step process that you can easily understand. If you follow the steps, you'll be able to make your own great video and begin your journey towards putting the power of video to work for your business. Let's dive in. Let's look at the overall process of making a video first. There are 3 main steps to producing one. The first step is called pre-production. The second is production, and the third, not surprisingly, is post-production. So let's look at step 1, pre-production. It is the single most important step in making a successful video for your B2B company, period. The tools that you need for this step? Very simple. All you need is paper and a pen. This is the step of the video creation process where you plan what you're going to produce, develop concepts and ideas around how you deliver that information, and figure out exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. Now, the very first thing that you should focus on is deciding who this video is going to be for. This is the most critical step in the pre-production process, because if you don't have a clear audience in mind, it'll be much more difficult for you to, 1, find a topic to create a script about, and 2, actually write the script. It's very tempting to think that you can write a single script that will have broad appeal and relevance, but focusing on a narrow niche helps you make a much better video. So first things first, define your audience. The second thing that you should consider during the pre-production process is, what is the purpose of this video? What do you want to convey to your chosen audience? What do you want them to walk away after they've watched the video thinking or imagining or feeling? As a B2B marketer, there's a simple guide you can follow. You match the goal of the video to what stage of the sales cycle the viewer is. At times, you may be purely interested in generating awareness for your company. At other times, you may want to dive into a very specific, very esoteric question related to the problem that you're solving for. You might be interested in a thought leadership style video where you want to showcase the unique way you've approached or solved the problem, or you may want to try to overcome any distrust from not having a strong brand or strong presence on the market, either because you're new to the market or you just don't have the scale of your competitors. And you can do this by providing case studies and user stories that support your product or service. So, alright, you've defined your audience. You've selected the exact reason for producing the video. What's next? It's time to write a script. Script writing can be extremely daunting, and it's very common for someone who has to write a script to just sit there and be completely dumbfounded as to where to even begin. Don't worry about it. You're not alone. I've been there many times over the last 15 years of doing this. And while this is an overview of the video production process and not an exhaustive exploration of each one of the components of the video production process, I would like to touch a little bit on script writing because I know how challenging it can be. I've developed a framework that I use to try to make script writing a little bit easier. I'm going to share a more detailed video in my next video that goes and talks about the script writing process in more detail, but for the purposes of this portion of the video, this simple framework that you should apply is start with the end in mind. Now let me break it down a little further. Let's rewind a little bit and track our progress so far. 1, you already know who your audience member is. 2, you know what you want them to walk away from watching the video thinking, believing, or feeling. Work backwards from there. Think about what sorts of objections they may have or questions that may arise in their minds when they watch your video. Remember, you are on a path towards trying to win a position in their minds, and that position is a positive perception of your company and what you have to sell. Try to imagine all the things that they're thinking about in order to do that. Script writing is a very important step, requires skill and practice, and it really deserves its own treatment. So watch out again for the next video where I dive deeper into script writing along with an example. Depending on the types of video you produce, there may be a few other steps that are necessary as part of the pre-production process. I'll assume for the sake of simplicity in this video that we're going to do a basic talking head style video. It's the style of video where it's 1, 2, maybe more people occasionally just talking on camera. It's usually shot indoors and at times maybe outdoors, but it's a style of video that doesn't require elaborate sets or fancy locations or green screens or virtual backgrounds. And because these elements aren't present in a talking head style video, they're generally simpler and don't require a whole lot of additional planning or preparation. So, okay, recap. Pre-production for a simple video, in our case, a talking head video. It involves 3 steps. 1, choosing the audience for the video. 2, determining the outcome or the impact that you want the video to have. And 3, writing a script or developing questions for the interviewee or subject. To prepare well, you should make sure that the questions you have for the interviewee are sent to her or to him well in advance so that he or she can prepare. Remember, this isn't a reality TV show we're doing. In B2B marketing videos, nothing that is captured on camera should come as a surprise to anyone. So that's pre-production. Next phase, production. Production is the step in the process that most people think about when it comes to creating a video. It's not surprising at all, since this is the part that's the most visible activity. The production process is when the cameras come out, the subject matter gets lit, the director sits in a special chair, the microphones come out, and you start capturing video footage and audio recordings that later get turned into the final product during the post-production process. In some ways, this is the most glamorous and most fun part of the entire process. Depending on the type of shoot that you're conducting, the production process can involve many different aspects, from lighting and sound to cinematography, to directing, to camera operation, to running a set efficiently, to capturing B-roll. But again, for the purposes of this video, I'm only going to focus on a handful of them. As we explore video in more depth, and as we expand upon the scope of what a video actually is, i.e. more than just a talking head or interview style video, we will begin to branch out and look at all these other things individually. To keep things simple and manageable, especially if this is your first video, let's look at some of the things that are really important. If you're going to be making a talking head video where it's only you on camera and you are trying to record yourself in the video, then this is something that won't matter as much. But if you are conducting an interview style video where you have a customer or a subject matter expert or one of your execs, then you will want to pay particular attention to this part of the video, which is directing. In the vast majority of cases, the director is the same person who has done the pre-production, the preparation, the planning, generating the script, coming up with ideas for questions, etc. And this makes a lot of sense, since the person who is most intimately familiar with the topic and the planned or expected outcome is the most prepared to actually conduct the interview or to guide the questioning. So the question is, what is directing? My interpretation? Directing is the process of ensuring that the vision of the video, which involves creating a video that elicits the response that you want in your intended audience, is accomplished. What that translates to from a practical standpoint can range from ensuring that the interviewer, who is often the director too, always stays on top of their interviewee to get the type of responses that the director is expecting. This is an extremely challenging thing to do, especially if you're interviewing someone who's not comfortable being in front of camera. In that situation, you must be extremely patient and use your wits to ensure that the interviewee or the subject becomes comfortable and is able to articulate their viewpoints in a way that's succinct and smooth. I once interviewed someone on a shoot where I spent 45 minutes slowly coaxing and coaching someone through what they were supposed to say, which had already been predetermined because they were very uncomfortable in front of camera. I spent the first 35 minutes just making them feel comfortable with me and bringing them into a state where they were present and focused on having a conversation with me and not frozen by the presence of the camera. Once I recognized that the person was comfortable with me, I then went into the interview proper, and we spent the next 10 minutes talking about the subject matter. The end result was that we ended up using approximately 25 to 30 seconds worth of that interview. And that's what you're going to have to do as a director sometimes if you're directing someone who's not comfortable on camera. The other thing that the director is responsible for is making sure that the sound bites that you're going for are captured succinctly. You don't want to pre-script these things and have your interviewee just memorize and recite or read out whatever it is that you want them to say. Instead, you need to guide them and shepherd them in a way that makes them feel comfortable and enables you to get what you want from the interview. Directing is a necessary skill. It's difficult to master, but it is critical to ensuring that you get what you want and need from the video. A great director must have empathy for the person that they're interviewing and a ton of patience too. When it comes to actually shooting the video, i.e. recording the moving images or the footage, I often get the question, what type of camera do I need? The answer is, whatever you have with you. Now, this isn't a flippant response. If you can afford to buy or invest in a decent camera to start off your storytelling and video marketing journey with, I encourage you to do so. Modern cameras, even those that cost less than $1,000, including a lens, are capable of capturing extremely good video quality. I've put some links to cameras at different price points in the description. But the reality is, modern smartphones are incredibly good at capturing video content. Case in point, director Danny Boyle, whose films Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire you might recognize, recently shot an entire feature-length film with an iPhone 15 Pro Max. If he can do it, there is really no reason why we, as B2B marketers who are trying to create content for our businesses, should not at least explore the possibility of using the phone to shoot our first videos. There are some incredible apps out there that I would consider truly professional grade that allow you to shoot super high quality video on the iPhone and also enable you to edit on your phone if your eyesight's good enough. I've put them in the description so you can check them out. What can really make the iPhone and other smartphones shine is proper lighting. Lighting is a component of the production process that you should pay careful consideration to. You want to make sure that your subject is properly lit for a couple of different reasons. One, almost all cameras can benefit from having adequate lighting. When you light the subject properly, it means you're effectively taking some of the load off of the camera. You're not forcing the camera to amplify the video signal, which can cause noise to happen. Here's an example of some noise in video. Proper lighting helps to reduce or eliminate this noise, which can significantly degrade your video quality. What sorts of light can you use? I'm amazed at what's available on the market today at the sub $100 price range. I've listed a few options in the description at different price points. Now the question might be, what's the difference between a sub $100 light and one that costs thousands of dollars? Well, the differences are reliability, consistency, the quality of light, and other features that you needn't be worried about when you're first starting out. Now, on to what may be the single most important area to pay attention to as part of the video production process: your audio. It doesn't matter how good your video is, how high quality, how well lit, how amazing the content and clarity of your video is. If you cannot communicate it in a way that your listeners can actually hear and understand, without being distracted by extraneous noise or background noise or static or any other audio distractions, your video will not be effective. It's not a secret anymore that audio quality is important to ensuring the overall quality of a video. So how do you get good audio quality? If you don't have a budget for an external microphone or a dedicated audio recorder, here's a free tip. The closer you sit to the microphone of whatever device it is that you're actually shooting with, whether that's your phone or a dedicated video camera, the better your audio is going to be. Plain and simple. If there is a budget for a dedicated microphone or audio recording device, be sure that the microphone or audio recorder is as close to the speaker as possible. When you watch YouTube videos, you'll often notice that the person who's speaking will wear a clip-on microphone, or you may also notice that some YouTubers or some video subjects don't appear to have any microphones near them, but the audio sounds great. Those are situations where there's a production crew that has placed a high quality microphone just outside of the view of the camera, like here. So remember, high quality audio is critical to the overall quality of a video. You don't have to spend a ton of money on audio gear to start out. Again, higher quality, higher cost gear has advantages. But in the beginning stages of your video production journey, you want to try to keep things as simple and as constrained as possible. I've listed a few audio options, both wired as well as wireless, for different use cases and different scenarios that you might find yourself in when you're making a video. So a quick recap of the production process. You generally have to think about 4 things. 1, directing the subject matter and making sure you get what you want and need for the audience and intended purpose of the video from the person when you record them. 2. The camera you're going to use. 3. Lighting and ensuring that your subject is well lit. And 4. Audio capture and making sure that you're trying to get the highest possible audio quality that you can, given your budget. Now, let's move on to the final step in the video production process, post-production. In our scenario, and for the sake of simplicity, it simply means editing. There are a few things that we are trying to accomplish when we edit. The first is to assemble all of the video footage that we've shot, whether it's of our subject matter or B-roll that we might also have recorded, as well as any supporting graphics and text or images, and put them all together into something that catches and maintains our audience's attention. We want it to be cohesive and flow well and ultimately help us to accomplish the goals that we set out to accomplish in the pre-production process. This is also the step where we do audio editing as well as audio processing and mixing to help improve the audio quality, and also could include adding music to add the type of energy and mood that we want to create. Sometimes it might be reducing background noise, sometimes it might be cutting out entire audio sections to eliminate any filler words such as or ah, or any unwanted noise that we might have picked up from the background, like a plane flying overhead or a truck outside. Most people that I talk to find editing the most daunting process because video editing software is unlike anything that most people have ever used. From my observations, the most challenging part about video editors is that there's a timeline. Every other tool that we use, whether it's a word processor or document editor or a graphic design tool or photo editing software, doesn't have a timeline associated with it. Everything that we do in these applications is static in nature. It doesn't change over time. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to edit a video in this video. I'll cover that in the future. For now, the important thing to remember is that editing helps us to remove everything that's superfluous, whether that's extra bits of video or extra bits of unwanted audio. It helps us tell the story that we want to tell and helps us to sell an idea or alter perceptions in the minds of our audience. Think of editing as assigning chapters to a book. Each chapter is both informed by and builds upon the others, ultimately creating a narrative that makes sense and is convincing. By the end of the video, you should have laid out a case that the viewer will find convincing. With that goal in mind, one of the most important things to ask yourself during the editing process is this really necessary? Does this add to the final product or is it merely a distraction? In the age of shortening attention spans, these questions are really critical to answer honestly. There are times when, as a video production person who's invested a lot of time and care into producing beautiful looking footage, we aren't fully honest with ourselves on this, and we end up keeping footage or clips that should really have been edited because while they might look cool to us, they don't really add to the final product. In fact, often they detract from it. Again, we will look at editing in more detail in a future video. In more advanced video production scenarios, the post-production process may involve things like visual effects or 3D or motion graphics and sound design and color grading to create mood and atmosphere. But for the purposes of this video, you have a good understanding of the post-production process. Okay, as a quick recap, there are 3 major parts to making a great B2B video. The first is pre-production. In this part, the first thing we need to do is choose the right audience for the video. The second, determine the outcome that we want for the video or what impact it has. And the third is to write a script or develop questions for the person you might be interviewing. Second major step in the process, production. The things to remember here are 1. Directing the subject matter to make sure you get what you want and need for your intended audience and purpose. 2nd, choosing a camera that's appropriate to your budget and the level of quality you're aiming for. 3rd, having proper lighting and making sure that your subject is well lit. And 4th, capturing high quality audio that's clear and prevents anyone from being distracted. Third major step, post-production. Think of it as arranging all the pieces in a logical manner and whittling away excess stuff to sculpt something beautiful and fixing up the details in audio to make it sound great. You now understand all the steps you need to know to make a B2B marketing video. If you want to learn more about B2B content marketing, check out the video that's on screen now or one of the ones that I've linked to down below.